Welcome, Kolleen. It's so good to sit down and chat on Zoom. I think it's been about 2 or 3 years since I've been able to see you in person, and I'm really in need of some Kolleen time.
Oh, that's sweet. I'm so happy to be here. I've looked forward to seeing your face all day.
So Kolleen and I met through a writers group, and I went to a retreat out in New York where Kolleen lives. We went hiking together, and then we had the retreat. I got to stay at Colleen's house. So I really got to know you, really enjoyed your sense of humor. And I think we connected on a heart level just because our husbands were apparently separated at birth.
I think they definitely are two of the same mold.
I think so.
Packer fans, and we talked a lot about their diets and
Yes.
how unhealthy they are, and yet how spry they stay.
Yeah. So my husband looks so fit and thin, and actually he's, he can jog and do things like that if he needs to for work. But over the years after meeting Kolleen, I would like take pictures of my husband's snack bowls
Yeah.
and them because his version of trail mix is like M&Ms and chocolate chips and Hershey's Kisses and whatever else. That's his trail mix.
Yeah, that's Pat and I go hiking together, and I take, an apple and some almonds, and I've got my water, and I've got all that I need to try to make it up that mountain in the Adirondacks. And I look at Pat's neck, and he's got Snicker bars and Hershey bars and Reese's peanut butter cups, and there's not one thing in there that is good for him. He drinks his Mountain Dew. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of sugar that guy takes, and he's as thin as a rail.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts.
Yeah, because then we both try so hard to keep ourselves healthy and,
Yep.
Indulge in a treat once in a while, but you aren't going to find a pile of candy wrappers next to my chair in the living room.
No, but you definitely will, Pat, that's for sure.
So
That
the
would be
other way
so
we've
fun.
connected at the heart is through our writing, and you have a chapter in the new compilation book, Life Repurposed, and you tell a little bit of your story. When I listened to you when we first met, I connected with your sense of humor, but also with some of the things you've talked about that are in your story in the book as well. Some struggles with family members, learning to keep your mouth shut. I have a little bit of sass in me, and I sensed that you had a little bit of that too.
Yeah. Well, you would be correct. I definitely have a little bit of sass in me. And, as I got married when I was 19, Pat and I were high school sweethearts. And I got married shortly after, I think it was a year after high school. And I came into a marriage kind of gonna just prove to everybody that they were wrong about me and they were wrong about us, and we were gonna make it, and nobody was gonna tell us how to make it. So I came in to a marriage with some sass, and I butted heads tremendously with my father-in-law, especially. We were constantly at odds, and I look back on that time now, and I feel so bad because I recognize how much trouble it was for Pat to have to be in the middle between his parents and his wife. We would leave, we'd go to visit, and we would leave, and we lived 4 hours from home. And I really believe that was God's saving grace for us, because I don't know where we would be, honestly, if we had lived close to family. But because we lived away from family, he could listen to me vent the entire 4-hour drive that it took to get us home. I would just rant and rave and go on and on about, they said this and they did this, and you should have done this and you should have done that. And this is what I need from you, and you're not giving it to me. And I look back on that and I think, oh my goodness, I just put him in so many hard places,
Were there other areas where you felt like you were trying to prove yourself?
Well, I think that a lot of my story is based on control. I I was a control freak. And when I look back now, and I feel like God through the years has just helped me understand that the
Mhm.
reason that I was such a control freak was because I wanted everybody to think and believe that I was this perfect
Mhm.
mom, this perfect wife. I had it all together. That, you know, my kids were well behaved. Wait, I had my first when I was 20. So not only to get married when I was 19, then I had a baby a year later. And, you know, there were issues with people thinking that, you know, I was too young to be a mom. I was too young to
Mm.
be, you know, you're going to mess this kid up. Right. And so, wait, I just lived so many years believing this lie that everybody was thinking about me. And that's something really cool that the Lord has recently been showing me, is that I think the world revolves around me. I think everybody's thinking about me. I'm walking underneath this weight of belief that people are assuming the worst of me. People are judging me for whatever. And the fact is, they're too busy to care. And honestly, as a stay-at-home mom, I was a stay-at-home mom for all of our marriage because, like I said, I had Adam when I was at 20, you know. So a stay-at-home mom for all these years, living the I can't wait life. I can't wait for my kids when they do this. I can't wait for my kids when they do that. But when I started getting to the point where I said, I can't wait until my kids are gone, then I'm going to do, well, when my kids all left, I didn't know what I was going to do.
Mm.
So I had put my identity, I know what it's like to live my identity through all the things that I'm doing. And it wasn't until after that that the Lord said, see, you've been putting it in all the wrong places.
Mm. Yeah, that's really profound. So what did you do then when you came to that realization?
I cried.
Yeah.
I cried a
Tears
lot.
are good. Tears are how I process through tears.
Yeah, I cried a lot. Oh my goodness, I spent so much time just walking and trying to figure out like where I was and how I
Mhm.
lost me. And I realized
Mm.
that I had, you know, I was Colleen the wife, Colleen the mom, Colleen the daughter. I just didn't know who I was.
Mm.
And I wanted to go out and I wanted to do something. But the funny thing is, God had me bring a family of with small children into my home and do daycare for them.
Mm.
And it was in that process of doing daycare for this one little girl, her name is Ainsley Grace, that she loved to read. And I was sitting with her one day and I was reading, and we were reading an alphabet book. And when I saw the letter A, in my mind, I had this word accepted flashed. But in the book, it said like A is for apple. But in my, you know, I saw A is for accepted. And every word just was, every letter was the same. And I knew right then and there that God was beginning to show me that my purpose was in more than what I was doing. It's like he kept having to bring me back
Mhm.
to this place of saying, Colleen, you're getting lost in purpose again. You're
Mm.
getting lost. You're losing yourself because you feel like you got to be proving something. You've got to be
Yeah.
doing something. And it is just not true.
Whether we're at home, people tend to ask us, "What do you do?" And we
Yeah.
respond immediately with either "I'm this, or this," or "I'm just a." Did you ever
Yes.
respond with "I'm just a"?
Always. That was my response. I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I actually had an older woman one time who she actually told me when she found out that I was a stay-at-home mom. And honestly, she was a really good friend of ours. She was like a mother figure to me, but she was somebody who had been at home and then went to work. And she said to me once that I was an anchor around my husband's neck because I was just a
Mm.
stay-at-home mom.
Wow.
And I was crushed by that. And then, you know, we take these comments that people say about
Mhm.
what we just are, and they ruminate in our thinking. They just are constantly there, you know, and we think about it over, and it's so easy then for confusion to come in. Well, if that's how you see me, then I better do something to fix that. Right. So then we set off to change it somehow, instead of becoming this place where you say, you know what, I'm more than just because God calls me, his daughter. I'm accepted, I'm beautiful, I'm loved, I'm cherished, I'm all these things that God says about me. So you can think that I'm just all you want, but I know just who I am in Jesus.
Yeah, I think there are listeners out there who have struggled with that too. And you have so much wisdom to offer. It's a process, isn't it? It's not like
It absolutely.
our before and after is not like an instant thing. It's like I look back and I think who I was 5 years ago and who I was 10 years ago and who I was 30 years ago are all different people.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I'm not
Absolutely.
sure I would want to be friends with my 25-year-old self.
The only thing that I think about is sometimes I think, oh, if I could just go back and if I could be the person I am now, and, there would have been so fewer fights. There would have been, I would have had peace inside. I was a constant turmoil mess inside, because when you're trying so hard to hold it all together perfectly, I got that side eye look for my kids when they're sitting in church next to me, like, you better stop making that noise. I want everybody to know that my kids know how to sit quietly in church. I was a mess on the inside. I was a mess. And I remember that moment where it all of a sudden, I thought to myself, I feel peace. Wow. I recognized it. This constant turmoil, like my gut was hurting because I was so afraid of something being out of my control. I remember that day that I thought, wow, I don't feel like that anymore. That's a miracle. It was like right then and there, I wanted to fall on my face and say, I believe in you, Jesus. You really are who you say you are. Well, right now, it's not about me anymore. It's not about me trying to fulfill something to make me feel good. It's about me walking down that path that God has for me to walk down, because I know when I'm on that path that he's getting glory. It's about him getting glory. It's about him showing off. I want him to show himself off in big ways for women who are caught in this cycle of having other people define them, having their jobs define them, having unmet expectations define them. When I get to walk beside somebody and I get to tell them a truth about what Jesus says about them and what he died to give them, oh, I get giddy inside.
I'd like you to tell us a little bit more about your book, Be You, and just explain, like, what does a reader find there? How can they apply that content to their everyday life?
Well, what they're going to find there is a whole lot of me. they're going to get to know me. When I wrote that book, I had no idea that it was going to be a book. I thought I was just pouring out my heart and soul to the Lord, and I changed some things, but I didn't change everything. And one of the things that I hear most often by people who read that book is, you are so authentic. And that's what I want. I want people to know that I'm not telling them something that I don't know, because, I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm going to be as real, as honest with you about who I am and where I've come from and what I've walked through. And I know, because I know the changes that God has done in me. I know the peace I feel. I know my relationships are different. I know that my relationship with Pat is different because of what he's done inside of me. He did repurpose me. He took, there were times, some days I feel like I look back, like I said, and I go, oh, I wish I could do that all again. But you know what? that's where the repurposing comes from.
Mhm.
That's where we learn. And that's why Be You is just learning to be who you are. We've got to stop hiding behind shame and letting shame keep us silent. You know, we all messed up. We've
Yep.
all done things that we're not proud of, and that we've all been hurt. We've all felt crushed, but we don't have to let that define us.
You also then have turned this into a women's ministry. And so when you talk about, like, each chapter of your book has an activate section, you're really all about activating women. Tell us about that ministry that you're part of.
Yep. I'm a co-director with my friend Chrissy Garrett. We co-lead a women's ministry called Activate Her. And we have 3 foundations for the ministry that we live on. And that is helping women to become courageous in our faith, building confidence in our leadership, and connecting in relationship. No matter what denomination you are, the core of the message is we love Jesus.
Mm.
And because we love Jesus, we can come together and we can love each other. And when we love Jesus and love each other well, we are like Jesus then. We are being Jesus to one another. And that's what we're about. That's what we're living for.
To that. If a listener is out there who wants to start a chapter, they can start one anywhere, and you and Chrissy coach people through that process. They can apply to have a chapter. So they'll find that on the Activate Her website, correct?
Yep, they sure will.
All right. So that's one way for people who are listening to gather some people and grow a group of women who are bonded together, who are seeking God for their identity. I love that your ministry is really merged with what God gave you in those simple ABCs while doing a home daycare. I love that. It's come all the way to this place now. Kolleen, as we leave and say goodbye to our listeners, what words of wisdom would you like to leave with them?
Well, I would just like to tell them that they can change their